Right now, a number in your business is lying to you. Your ad platform says that you have around 100 clicks, but your analytics say that only 60 of them landed on your website somehow, and your bank account is just saying a completely different story than both of those. I've spent years generating leads, buying leads, and running call center floors. I've scored hundreds of thousands of leads. Here's what I know. Businesses that are going to scale in 2026 have stopped drowning in their dashboards. They can follow $1 from click to cash in their bank account, and that's what I'm gonna show you in this video. Step by step. So by the end of this, you'll see exactly what every dollar does in your business and why. Let's say there's one service business, they have one ad campaign, and they've generated one lead, a homeowner that clicked on an ad and filled out a form. Let's call her Sarah. We're gonna follow Sarah the entire way through this video. By the end, you're going to know exactly what happened to Sarah and what she was actually worth to that home service company. Now, quick question, and let's be honest. When you open up your ad account, what's the first thing that you actually look at? It's probably impressions, or it's your clicks, or it's your cost per lead. And look, I'm not judging you because the platform literally puts those numbers right in front of your face for free. You didn't have to build anything around them. You didn't have to connect anything. It's just there. And that's not by accident, but there's an old story about a guy looking for his keys under a streetlight. Not because he dropped them there, but because that's where the light is. That is exactly what is happening in your business right now. The streetlight is cost per lead or clicks or impressions. It's bright, it's easy, and you can already see it. You don't have to do any work. The keys are your actual revenue and profit, and they're sitting somewhere outside of that streetlight in the dark. See, cost per lead is just how cheap it is to get someone to fill out their information. That's all it truly measures. It doesn't tell you if they had real intent. It doesn't tell you if they were qualified, and it definitely does not tell you if they actually are going to turn into money for you. The number that actually predicts revenue is what it costs you to get that customer to actually pay you, to get Sarah to pay you. And past that, what you actually keep after Sarah pays you. Because revenue is basically a bragging number, but gross profit is what you can actually scale on. The thing is that most people run their entire business off of a bragging number instead of a number that helps them scale. Now, you might be saying, Jackson, which number is right for my business? And that depends on your sales cycle and on your actual margin. But the test is actually super simple. If you think about your business, if a number can't change a decision you make this week, it's probably a vanity metric tied to emotion. That's pretty much a quick and dirty test. Cost per sale changes decisions. Gross profit changes decisions. Impressions and clicks, they just change your mood, not your actual business. So now you know the numbers that actually matter when you think about your business. Here's the question almost nobody actually asks next, but should. The data behind that number, do you actually own it to create that number, or are you renting it? So this one took me long time to figure out, so let me save you some years. Here's the two kinds of data in your business. There's the data that you own, what your customer and your lead hand you directly. Their name, their number, what they bought, how many times you called them, whether they closed, whether they rebought, what's their LTV. And there's data you rent, whatever a platform decides to tell you about that person who became a lead. And the rent keeps going up every single year on these ad platforms, while the product is debatably getting worse. And here's why you can never let the platform's dashboard be your source of truth, because the ad platform's reporting results is basically like a seller grading its own homework. Think about that for a second. The company that you're paying for traffic is the same company that is telling you how good the traffic was. I'm not saying they're lying to you. I'm just saying that they've got every single reason in the world to grade themselves generously. And honestly, I would do the same thing if I was in their seat. So the move is you build one place that you control all of the data. One record that holds your leads and your outcomes and everything you rented from the platform. Who came in, where they came from, what happened after they handed off to you, and what they're actually worth to you in your business. Once you own that, the platform's dashboard becomes what it should have always been, a signal to your business, not a verdict. And here's the part that actually matters for the next 10 years. In a world of AI, you can write ads, you can build creatives, and buy media on Facebook, Google, TikTok for anyone with a credit card. And all of that is just getting commoditized. The only thing that can't really get commoditized is the proprietary data that you own. Every time the algorithm changes, the people chasing quick hacks on the platform, they basically have to reset to zero every single time. Now, the person who owns their data and owns their records never starts from zero. But Jackson, isn't the platform data good enough to start? As a signal, for sure. Use it for the initial direction, but you never let the scorekeeper also be your referee. The second the platform's number is your only number that you make your your actual decisions on. You have basically handed business decisions over to a company that is selling you something, in this case ads. So own your data and put it with any of the data that you're actually renting, so you own all of it. Now once you start to connect it end to end, this is where it gets fun and you can be creative. So let's go back to Sarah in this example. Her journey is not a moment, but it's actually a chain of events. She goes from the ad platform, which has some data that you should take, to a funnel, which has other data that you bring in, to a dialer, how many times did you call her, did Sarah book, to a CRM, where did she become a sale or did she quietly die? In that example, there's 4 systems. And if those systems don't even talk to each other, how do you actually know why Sarah did or she didn't buy? Was it the ad bad or good? Did anyone fall off fast enough? Did the salesperson drop the ball, or were they the whole reason she closed? Who knows? Most businesses can only see 2 ends of the chain: the money going out to get a lead and the money coming in as a sale. Everything else in the middle is basically just a black box to them. In the middle is where your business actually either grows or it starts to die. And I have lived in this. I run a lead gen agency. I have built call center floors with hundreds plus seats. And I'll tell you one thing that nobody in this industry ever wants to admit out loud. Even at real scale, the second a lead leaves your hand to a different department or different company, you basically have no idea what's happening to it. I was guessing, my clients were guessing, you're probably guessing. So people argue. They say the leads are garbage. Other people, including myself, would say the team wasn't working them. And neither of us can prove a thing because neither one of us could actually see the same picture end to end, the entire chain. The loop that you actually want is actually pretty simple to say. For every dollar in, you can say where it came from, what it turned into, and whether it was sold and turned into revenue. One journey on one screen. That is the whole game from my perspective. And real quick on general attribution, because you'll hear this term a lot. Last click just means whatever the customer clicked on last gets credit for the sale. But real customers usually touch your business 5, 6, 7, 20 times before they actually buy. And last click just hands 100% of the credit directly to the place that the customer clicked last. You don't have to become a full expert in attribution. You just need to know which model your report is actually using before you trust it, because all of them come with limitations. I've got a whole nother video on this. If you want to go deeper, just check out under here on the channel. Now, here's the payoff, and this is where cheap leads usually get exposed. Let's go back to a different example. Say you're running a Facebook campaign and a Google campaign. Facebook's coming in at $10 a lead. Google's coming in at $50 a lead. Every bone in your body, when you see that on ad platform, is telling you to kill Facebook and scale Google, right? That feels responsible. That's good math. That's all you see. It seems so simple. But then you back out all the numbers down the line, further down the funnel, and it takes 100 Facebook leads to make one sale. It only takes 10 Google leads. So the leads that are 5 times more expensive is actually 2 times cheaper on the numbers that actually matter to your business, which is cost per sale, so you could generate revenue. The cheapest cost per lead and the highest revenue per lead are almost never the same source. So if cost per lead is your North Star metric, you're not just optimizing the wrong thing. You are literally optimizing your business to get worse. Trust me, I've done this for a long time. And connecting the chain and keeping it honest is the exact problem you should solve if you want to run your business on data instead of just feelings. If you're sitting there and you're thinking, this sounds like a lot to wire together by myself, you are right. It is. Connecting all of your different systems, connecting every ad, every source, every lead, every appointment, every sale, every DQ, and keeping that whole thing honest, it's exactly the problem my team and I have spent fighting in our own agency before we built the software to do it. It's called Attribute, and it's what my company actually runs on. I'm not going to pitch it here, but if you want us to look at your setup and show you where your tracking is leaking money, there's a link in the description to book a call with me directly. Either way, keep watching, because the next step is where a lot of the data falls apart and it has nothing to do with the tools that you're actually using. Okay, I'm going to preference this. I'm sorry. This is the part that's actually going to sting a little bit. If you remember Sarah from the beginning, here's the uncomfortable question. Was Sarah even a real person? Because some of what you're paying for was never even a real human being. It has never been easier to fake activity, especially with AI. Bots, junk, clicks, garbage, form fills, fake Sarahs all day long. And none of it shows up on your dashboard labeled as fake. I'll give you a real one from my own company because I eat my own cooking. We use Clarity to run session recordings on our own landing pages. We actually watch replays of what visitors do on our landing pages to increase conversions. And we dug in one day and we found that the overwhelming majority of our paid traffic, over 80% of sessions, sessions was coming from one automatic placement the platform had quietly opted us into. And those visitors were scrolling about 15% of the page and leaving. They weren't reading, none of them were converting. The platform charged us for every single one of those and called them clicks. The recordings told us the actual truth. The dashboard didn't. So here's the check that you can implement today, and it takes 10 minutes. Go to Clarity, it's completely free, and install it on one of your websites. Then get these three numbers: the clicks the platform charged you for, the sessions your analytics actually recorded, and the real humans who showed up to your pipeline. Those three should roughly agree. They'll never match perfectly, that's totally normal, but when there's a canyon between them, that's a gap in your signal. And hear me out on this. The gap is your actual signal, not your fault. You didn't screw up, you just hadn't looked at it yet, and you don't have the visibility in between that gap. But the fraud is only half of this. The other half is your own settings, and this one is worse because it's self-inflicting. One company I consulted for, one of their best sources went bad overnight, and everyone blamed the source. The marketing head blamed the source, the head of sales blamed the source. Purchasing department and the CFO were ready to cut them out completely. We pulled all the numbers and looked at what was actually happening to that source. Do you want to know what it was? The new dialer admin had readjusted one setting, and that one source was actually the only one that was getting routed into a long-term nurture on inbound. So their leads were getting called once a week instead of 3 times a day. That's it. That's the whole thing. They fixed it, and the source went right back to being one of their best sources. And they were literally this close to cutting them. And you don't just lose money. Sometimes you lose relationships, or you lose a partner that's hard to replace. 9 times out of 10, the fix is the boring thing. It's a setting sitting right in front of you that nobody actually checked. The report existed the whole time. It's just nobody was reading it, and the data didn't work together to be as simple as something like the Facebook, where you could see clicks, leads, impressions. That's where you want to get to. All of your numbers, the numbers that matter, are as easy to view as the stuff in the platform. So how often do I check all of this stuff in this data? I would say often enough to catch a break inside of a week, not a quarter. A broken funnel doesn't cost you percentages. It costs you days, and you don't get those days back. So now your data is clean, it's connected, and it's actually real and going towards what you actually want to see instead of what they're spoon feeding you. And it's still worthless until you change what you do next. Now, this is the last step. All right, everything in this video has been building to this one point. When your business stalls, your brain is going to reach for one of 3 excuses. There's my team can't close, which is sales. The leads are garbage, which is a marketing thing, or the market's soft, which is an offer, or just your entire business. I have said all 3 of those to my team more than I can count. And almost every single time that I actually dug into the numbers that we just got from before, the actual numbers that matter, the real answer was none of those. I'm gonna bet for about 90% of the people that are still watching, you have never actually had a real true lead problem. You have had an offer problem, or a data problem, a data ownership problem, a data cleanliness problem, a data aggregation problem. You cannot see what's happening, so every decision is a guess dressed up as actual strategy. Fix the seeing, and typically the decisions become super obvious. When you can see the whole chain, most hard decisions stop being hard. The data makes them for you. Your job is not to argue with it, but to actually gather it, aggregate it, clean it, so it's as easy to see as cost per lead is in the ad platform. And here's where the people who even track data typically get it wrong as well. They point the data backwards to where they should. A report that explains last month is a history lesson. It's interesting, sure. Sometimes it's useless though. The only reason to track anything is to change the next decision. You should use that data in the past with your current data to make a better decision. History should be used to complement your current decisions. Which campaigns get cut? Which ones get fed more budget? What a lead is actually worth to you this month today? And here are 2 rules that actually make that real. Rule 1, always be testing new stuff. We keep a slice of all spend to always be testing something new, whether it's a new campaign, whether it's a new ad platform, a new hire, always. And here's the mindset. Most tests lose. That's not a failure, that's by design. That's what everyone else experiences. You should expect that most of them are going to lose, and that there are a couple winners that are going to pay for all of the losers combined. The companies that stall are the ones that found one thing that worked a few years ago. They've just been riding that one thing forever and not been getting better. That age-old thing of you're either growing or you're dying is true in business. Here's the second rule. Don't kill a campaign on a week of noise. My rough rule of thumb is 2 to 3 weeks and 2 to 3 times your cost per sale in spend before you even judge the campaign. Sessions move the numbers. Geography moves the numbers. Weather moves moves the numbers. Super small things move those numbers. So if you're judging a campaign on like 3 days of data, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to kill things that you shouldn't, and you're going to scale things that you shouldn't. And that's pretty much the whole thing. Companies need to stop grading themselves on what is easy to see and start grading themselves on what is actually true. That's this hard part that makes decision making easy. That's where money is made. That's where companies scale, but it's also where companies fail. And now that you can see how the whole chain works, you know where Sarah would have come from, what she costs you, what she turned into, and what to do about it. If you take this and you actually implement it and point it towards your next decision, you're going to stop guessing today and you're going to start setting yourself up for tomorrow. So that's the entire system. Pick the numbers that actually affect your revenue and that actually matter, not the ones that feel good emotionally. Own your data instead of renting it. Connect every dollar from click to sale. Check the numbers and make sure they're even real, and then use what you see to decide your next move. Do that and stop guessing. You'll know which campaigns to cut, which ones to feed, and exactly what a lead is worth to you. If you want to go deeper on the money side of this, you can watch this video that breaks down the entire actual math that Alex Hormozi uses to scale his business. It pairs perfectly with everything that we just covered. And if you rather just have my team build this tracking system and consult you on your business, there's a booking link below in the description. Feel free to book. I'll see you on the next one.